Greetings and welcome to Chant A Psalm A Day. Greetings and welcome to Chant A Psalm A Day. We are here starting off the races. We are here. It is, what does a calendar speak about? We're getting ready to go into a full moon. Full moon is coming up tomorrow. It's going to be to the fullest. So this is the opportunity. This is the time for reflection as the new year came upon us on Wednesday. We have the full moon coming up this following now after that new year came in. So I'm pleased to welcome in this new year in a very abundance of goodness and kindness and love. And I want to send out a special send out to everyone out there who's beginning a relationship, that's starting out in a new relationship. And they have ended their old relationship. They've moved on and they're in a new relationship. And I want to send a special bless out to everyone there who is in something, they're new. Either they're going to school for the first time, something new that they're doing. They're teaching a class. It's a new class. I'm teaching a new class as well that I haven't taught before. So that's something new. So find what is something new that's happening in your life at the moment that you can be thankful for, that you want to embrace in the kindness of all that is the Most High. So we're going to get started with Psalm, I believe it's Psalm 32. I believe it is Psalm 32. Yep, it is. Psalm 32. Blessed are the forgiven. So, blessed greetings, Elsu. Yes, I want calm. I receive that. Greetings of love and calm with massive gratitude for the Most High daily. Most definitely, I receive that fully. It's very... it's time, it's that time when we are at crossroads. And when we find ourselves at crossroads, do we go here, do we go there? We have to allow ourselves, we have to forgive ourselves. We have to forgive ourselves for past mistakes. We have to forgive ourselves for past injuries to ourselves and to others, basically, that we may have unintentionally hurt. So when we find ourselves at these crossroads, we have to err on that side of goodness and err on that side of all that is righteousness, mercy, and love. So the psalm today echoes that. Blessed are the forgiven. So we have to forgive ourselves. Yes, we made mistakes. We may have thought something was something else and it wasn't. And it makes us feel that our judgment is off. We are wrong. We're not able to discern. Why would we get with someone that's going to hurt us? However, we know that we are forgiven. We are forgiven. We are blessed, highly favored, wonderfully made, and we are forgiven. So, guess what I forgot, y'all? My tea. Hold 1 second. Let me get my tea. Oh my gosh, I left my hot tea out here. He upset. Yeah, dog started crying. Like he needs to be around her dog. Cause he don't want it to bark while I'm doing my son. Wow. Bobby. Oh, he's one leg hanging down. Okay. I've returned. Ah, my goodness. So when we find ourselves at these crossroads, we have to pause. We have to pause and we have to meditate, do our yoga. We have to forgive ourselves. We have to forgive ourselves for any past things that we may have done. So, blessed are the forgiven. And in this psalm has, let's see, about 11 verses. So, the psalm, 11 verses, blessed are the forgiven. So, blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Blessed is the one against whom the Lord counts no inequity, and in whose righteousness there is no deceit. So let's unpack that. You are blessed. Blessed is the one when your transgressions are forgiven. And we know we have forgiveness. We know we have an advocate for forgiveness. It's not that we're going to do something wrong knowingly, and knowingly we're going to know we're going to be forgiven, so we do it anyway. We have to be advocates. We have to be accountable. So we have to look at the entirety of the forgiveness and looking at that as part of that journey of establishing that relationship with the Most High, that you are, that's the purpose of this Chant A Psalm. So building that relationship, and part of that building of that relationship, there's these blocks, there's these building blocks. So look at it as this is one of the building blocks of building that relationship with the Most High, that is forgiveness. Forgiveness. And transgressions we may have done intentionally or unintentionally, we are forgiven. Our sin is covered. So we go and we sin no more. Knowing that in our minds, we know that we are forgiven and our sin is covered. We will go and sin no more. That's why I don't use the word sin in my words. I'm not going to speak the word since I knew you, or sin, singular, or single, or sincere, or singing a song. I'm moving away from those words because I am blessed. Blessed is the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. So I cover, it's covered because of the word. God's words are rare. They're so rare, people don't use them. And because they don't use them, they inevitably create their own narratives with these words and end up defeating themselves in the words that they use and in the language that they use. So when you talk about I fall in love, that is dangerous, and I experienced that in terms of falling. And the word is not literally like you're physically falling, but you have become intertwined with someone, and you have fallen into them. So we can look at it in that way, but the word fall is to come down. You're coming down. And I don't like to use that word when I am beginning a relationship with someone. I want, and I'm in love with them. The feeling of love is happening. So I use the word stand. I am going to stand in love with you. And in that, I'm not going to fall. I'm not going to fall away from my righteousness and be dominating over you. I'm not going to want to own you and control who you talk to and where you go and what you look at and who you see and what you have in your house. That is controlling. That's actually manipulation. And that's where human beings, when they talk about falling in love, they fall in those spaces of no return and end up hurt at the end. So it's dangerous when someone says, I'm falling in love with you, or when someone tells me that. I speak to them and I tell them, don't fall for me, stand for me. So when I'm not around, you can stand up for me when people are talking about me in a negative way. That's love. That's how you love in a relationship. You stand in love for that person. So when that person isn't there, your love that you have, you haven't fallen in this ownership of that person, but you are standing in that love for that person because it's from a higher source. It's not from your own understanding. So people who are immature and who are young, I guess, in that immaturity of Christ, of the Most High, when you're immature in that relationship with Christ, you're going to want to fall in love with somebody. I'm falling in love with that woman, or I'm falling in love with that man, or I'm falling in love with this person, because Christ's love is there, but you have put it in the back. You're putting your own understanding in the front. And when you do that, you're going to get into quarrels, you're going to get into disagreements, you're going to get into jealousy, you're going to get into envy, you're going to get into insecurity. You're insecure about the person speaking to anybody else, and you insecure because you've fallen. Don't fall for someone, stand for someone. And when you stand for someone, you're standing for them in a righteousness, in a Christ-like behavior. So you're mature in Christ in that you are not jealous of the person's past relationship. You are secure with them and that and all of it because you have not fallen, but you're standing for that person. And whatever that person is about or want, you're going to stand for that person. That's what I try to do. I try to not fall in love, but stand in love. And in that standing in love, I have that person's back. I'm going to stand for that person. I'm going to, people talk about that person. I'm going to stand for them and say, whoa, 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 and people look at that don't talk about mine. That's mine. We don't own anyone. We don't own people. That person isn't yours. They never were. And in that mentality, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt because when you fall, you hurt. When I fell, I broke my arm, right? So we look at these building blocks toward the relationship with the Most High that's going to keep us secure. It's going to keep us from being envious. It's going to keep us from being jealous. Once we are building that relationship with the Most High, we're going to be secure in our relationships with everybody else. So when you see someone that's not secure in their relationship, it's because they're not secure. They haven't built that relationship with Christ, with righteousness, with God, with Lord, with Jesus, with Jehovah, with Selassie the First, with Rastafari, with whatever you want to call, whatever they want to call that. They haven't. They're not locked in to it. You got to be locked in. And when you're locked into a person and not the Most High, that person can disappoint you. They can, you know, do something that may be unexpected. And so this is where the Psalm 32 comes in. Blessed are the forgiven. Blessed are the one whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered, meaning that who goes and sins no more. They're walking in the path of righteousness, and they're walking in that path. They're blessed is that one whom that righteousness is going to count no wrongness in, and in whose righteousness there's no lies, there's no deceit, there's no withholding of information. I want to meet other people, let's go our separate ways. And when people tell you the truth, it's about being free. They are going to tell you the truth no matter what. And when people don't, when they go into a deceitful place, is because they don't want to accept what the outcome is going to be when the truth is told to another person. Can't accept the reaction, in other words. So then that's where you go into that deceit and lying. And that's not righteous. That's not good. It's not nice to be deceitful. So when you see people with those deceitful spirits, and they lie and they're sneaking and they don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, is because they want that person right where they are. They don't want that person to make a decision against them based on the truth. So people withhold the truth. And it's not nice, okay? In Psalm 32, in verse 3, we see when I kept silent. And it's important to not keep silent. I've been scrolling on the gram, and I saw, people posting stuff about, not that to keep silent, don't say anything and let people alone. But however, when you talk about keeping silent, you're being silent about these negativities. But you're not going to be silent about the righteousness of the Most High, and that love, and that, relationship that you're building. Because you're building that relationship, it's building blocks. And the outcome is that salvation, where you're going to be stress-free, no worry about bills and all of that, because you have taken up a sacrifice. And that sacrifice is basically that forgiveness, forgiving yourself and sacrificing, your own understanding for that higher standing, not even under, but higher standing firm in that righteousness. And that's where you love a person in that righteousness, standing firm. I will love you. And that's what I want my vows to be when I marry someone. Is that I will stand in love with you. So, I'm good. I'm good. Verse 3 and 4 is hard for me. So I'm mustering up the strength. For when I kept silent, my bones wasted away. Through my groaning all day long, for day and night, there was a heavy hand upon I, and my strength was dried up as the heat of summer. Selah. Verse 5, I acknowledged my shortcomings to righteousness, to grace, to mercy, to long suffering, to forgiveness. I acknowledged my wrongdoing to that. And I did not cover my wrongness. It was out there. I said, this is what I did, and I spoke. I will talk about my transgressions to the Lord, to righteousness. Yes, you can talk to your therapist all day long, but that's another person, right? That has their own backgrounds and, ideologies. Well, when I talk to righteousness, that sacred righteousness, because people, they have good and they have bad. They got, that going on. So they're not fully, we're all imperfect, right? So when you talk to that's perfect. That's that righteousness. That's that perfect love. And you tell that perfect love what you have done, and you're forgiven from that. Selah. You're forgiven from that. But you have to speak. And just what verse 3 said, when I kept silent, this is what happened. But when you open your mouth and you acknowledge, I have done wrong, I acknowledge that to that righteousness. I go in my closet, I go in my prayer closet, I go in my warrior room, I go somewhere out on the bay sitting down, and I acknowledge that to righteousness, that sacred righteousness that's a mist that I mentioned yesterday, that is a presence. And when you are within that presence, you are acknowledging, and you're not hiding. You're acknowledging what you did, and you're not hiding behind anybody. So you're not hiding behind the church. You're not hiding behind our new relationship, and you're hiding behind it. You're not hiding behind a person. You are out in the open, acknowledging what you've done. And that's what this channel is for me. Acknowledging what you've done and talking about that. People go to confession, right? I don't use the word con. Con is a lie. You communicate to the Most High. So when you communicate to the Most High about what you have done, somebody's sad, you've made someone sad, you've made someone cry, you've hurt someone, and you ask and you speak to the Most High you're forgiven. Your inequity that you have done against someone is forgiven, Selah. But you have to acknowledge and open your mouth. Verse 6, therefore let everyone that is good offer words of goodness. Offer words of goodness. Offer words of goodness. Don't call someone and curse them out on a voicemail. Call and speak. Hi, I am so and so. I know you are so and so, and bless you for your kindness. Whatever I feel that you, blah, blah, blah. Communicate with words of kindness. So everyone who is godly is going to do that. Offer a words, offer words at a time when that righteousness may be found, that you may be out on the, remember I said righteousness, it's a midst, it's all around, it's a presence. You push it away by entertaining distractions of this world into your space. I'm in a quiet space and I feel the presence of the Most High with me always. So verse 6 is to let everyone who is righteous, who is godly, who is good, who is kind, merciful, offer words to that gracious righteousness at a time when that gracious righteousness may be found. Surely in the rush of great waters, even in the great waters, righteousness cannot be drowned out. Righteousness and mercy and love, not even the rush of great waters can take away. Righteousness is a hiding place for I and I. Remember I said we don't hide behind people. We don't hide behind relationships. You know, people on social media make their relationships look like it's, they're falling in love. They're, having a good time. They show pictures of them and all of this. And when you peel it all away, what is it? You're hiding behind that. So I urge people to post about God. Post about how God has moved in your life for you and allowed you to love someone or to fall in love, as people speak of. I don't use the word fall in love. I'm going to stand in love. And when you stand in love, you're standing for something greater than the two people that you are as a couple. You're standing for something greater than that, that is higher than you, that has allowed you to love each other. And when people don't stand for something, they will fall for anything. They will fall for anything. And that's why I have to stand for something. I have to stand for God, for love, for righteousness, for the Most High. Because that is what has saved me over and over and over again in my life. That has saved me. I was 2 years old. 2 years old. I was a toddler. And my dad was building our house. He kept every year we kept adding on a room or building our house. And this one year I was 2 years old and I had fallen over, I guess it was like a deck, and I fell over the deck. And nobody could find me. I was under the house, literally. I was 2. And nobody could find me. And I'm under there. There was a comfort over me I can't describe. And I really think that was my first encounter with something higher than myself. Because how could I remember that at 2 as a toddler? But I remember that. And righteousness was there in the midst. it was there in the midst and it kept me. Even though the rush of great waters, the rush of, being under the house and falling under there as a toddler, I was still safe. I was still safe. And that became a hiding place for me. That solitary being alone and not knowing that I'm not alone. I am surrounded with a grace, with a kindness and a love. One of my students said to me, they said, when we were leaving class, she was like, Dr. Sewer, you just have this about you. And I was like, what is it? She said, it's this, no other professor has it. You just got a style about you, and it's from the inside. I could see, it comes out, and you just different. And I said, okay. I don't know what that meant, but I was like, okay. So reading the Psalm now, I realized what, that was about. It's about standing out to the Most High. And once you do that, you become this light, because everyone who seeks that higher power, everyone that seeks that higher power is called, and they have to answer that call. I was called, and I had to answer it. And in that answering that call, some people may, you may lose some people along the way. And I have lost some folks along the way, some folks that were what the psalm is talking about. They were godly folks. They would offer words, and they love God. And they looked at God as a hiding place for them. That God preserves me from trouble and surrounds me with shouts of deliverance, Selah. So verse 7 gives us the reason why we may go through hurt, the reason why we may go through pain or long suffering is because once we stay in that space of goodness, everything is going to come into place. Everything is going to come into place. So in verse 8, well, really verse 7, that righteousness is a hiding place for I and I am preserved from trouble. I and I is surrounded with shouts of deliverance. So what does that mean? I and I've been delivered. I and I've been delivered, Selah. And whenever you've been isolated or you've been separated and you're alone, okay? Say you're married and your partner passes away, or they find someone else, whatever the case is, and you find yourself alone. It's because you have been isolated for that righteousness, for you to look within yourself. God works in such a powerful way that sometimes we don't realize we are where we're supposed to be for a lesson we're supposed to learn. I told someone, I said, you're with this person maybe to learn something. Maybe you're to learn something, and having that in our minds, we're going to be able to know that we're going to be okay, and that the Most High preserves I and I from trouble, right? And surrounds I and I with shouts of deliverance, Selah. And verse 8, I will instruct. And who is I? Righteousness. Righteousness is going to instruct I and teach I and I in the way I and I should go. And righteousness will teach I with I eyes upon righteousness. So we have to remember that righteousness is our instructor and teacher. That's what Jesus was. He was a teacher, he was a carpenter, he made things and he taught. He was a teacher, he instructed in the way I should go. And that teaching that was given was from righteousness. Righteousness will teach I with eye upon I. So we're going to be taught, right? And we're going to be watched. Righteousness is watching. Or is that person going to do the right thing? Is this person going to do the right thing? What's happening with this person going to do the right thing? So there's this umbrella of righteousness that is amidst us. And it gives us this instruction and teaching and counseling. And the eye of that righteousness is watching us every step of the way. And look, verse 9, be not like a horse or an animal without the ability to stand firm in righteousness. They go do wrongness. Just like Jonah talked about, people don't know their left from their right. They don't know right from wrong. They're doing things and it's like it's okay to hurt people. It's okay to go and cheat on people. It's okay to do these things. My dad, God rest his soul, felt as a man that was what he's supposed to do. Go have other women and like what? Wait. So this teaching is important because we're not like an animal without a ability to stand firm. That's why you're not supposed to fall in love like an animal and be an animal, but stand in love, stand in that love, right? And curbed with bit and bridle, because that's what an animal when I get my horses, two, I'm getting a male and a female, and these two horses, I have to have a bit and a bridle. They can go off someplace. They don't have that standing firm in righteousness to do the right thing. Dogs don't, they're gonna do things wrong. They're animals that must be curbed with bit and bridle, or it's not going to stay near you. They're going to go and run off. So verse 10 and 11, as we end the psalm, many are the sorrows of the wicked. Okay. Many are the sorrows of the wicked. However, steadfast love surrounds the one that trusts in righteousness, mercy, love, and kindness. That love is going to surround that one that trusts in that righteousness. Right? Verse 11, be glad in righteousness and rejoice, O righteous, and shout for joy, all the upright in their hearts. So I have to listen to this for myself, because weeping over my dad passed or my relationship ended, and weeping over things like that, I don't, I don't want to do that, because I don't want to be classified in this sorrows of the wicked. I don't want to have sorrows. I want the steadfast love that surrounds that righteousness that I trust in, right? I want to be glad in that, and I want to rejoice in that. I want to chant for joy. I want to, be upright inside of my heart. And Selah and Selah again. And the psalm today, powerful in that it gives this punch of, what? It's going to be okay, because I am preserved from trouble. I am surrounded with shouts of deliverance. I've been delivered. I've been saved. I've been given the breath of life to get up this rise and chant a psalm. I've been delivered. I've been delivered. And I love that. I've been delivered. So that is our psalm today. And I wanted to look at the word today. Don't hold on. We got 40 minutes in here. Our word today is free. It's actually, but I don't use the word dumb. I use the word free. I use the word free. So let's look at the word today, free. It's supported by Proverbs 3:6. So I feel free when I listen to the guidance of righteousness within. So sometimes we feel chained, chained down to someone, or chained down to a job, or chained down to something. But when we listen to that guidance of righteousness that's within, we are free from that. We are free from it. So every day I make choices about how to respond to the world around me. Even when I face limitation in life, I am free to think and believe how I choose. And I sense of independence grows when I am focused on the things I can control, my thoughts and beliefs. So you can't, my hand is itching. You can't control people. And that's where we get into conflicts or discord. I don't like the word con. Con is a lie. We get into disagreements because someone wants the best for you, but you don't want the best for yourself. And it gets into discord, because one person wants the best for you, but if you don't want it for yourself, it's not going to happen. And that is evidence in the fact that you create your destiny. Someone else can want for you what they want, but if you don't want it, it's not going to happen. If you don't want the house, if you don't want generational wealth, if you don't want these things, it's not going to happen. Nobody can force you to want it or to beg you to, don't spend money on that. Let's use it for this so that we can build on it later for wealth. You know what I mean? Nobody can make you do that. They can, but eventually you're going to fight. It's going to be animosity toward that person. So I learned to let things and people go that don't see in themselves what I see, because then it becomes a fight. I'm like, wait, you're an engineer. You can, start your own business, even if it's putting up TVs in people's houses. That's, you have your little business card, and that's the thing you do on the side. That's another income, Nobody can force anybody to do that. You have to want that. And I want that for people. And sometimes people want that, but they don't want to do the work. So I can control my thoughts and beliefs. So that's where I'm going to limit. That limitation, when I face limitation in life, it's going to be that. I'm limited to my own thoughts and beliefs, and not how somebody else is living or what they're doing. So being truly free means taking ownership of your life, even when you do not like what life is showing you. Okay? I am free to change how you react. Yeah, you're free to change how you react. When I am faced with a limitation or restriction, I acknowledge the limitation and restriction without focusing on it. I turn to righteousness as a traveler searching the sky for the North Star. So you err on the side of kindness, you err on the side of righteousness, you err on the side of goodness and mercy and love, right? And forgiveness. Righteous practices, practicing these attributes guides, right? It guides you forward to that innate wise mind and intuition inside, right? You are returning to that is inside of you, that is the source of all that you need to be okay. All right? And that bolstering that feeling of being free. Now, I remember the strength within. That strength within is greater than what is before I. All the anxieties of the day, all the anxieties of the coming days, this is the Ethiopian New Year came on September 11th. Now we're going into the Mescal on the 27th of September. All of that. We're going to know that the strength within is greater than the anxiety of all the days ahead. And I can navigate any situation with ease and grace. With ease and grace. Any situation, okay? That's how you navigate it, with ease and grace. So Proverbs 3:6 supports the word today, being free. Not freedom. You cannot free the dumb. The dumb is going to be enslaved. You can't free the dumb. The dumb has to realize and has to seek with what's within for answers, not getting spoon-fed doctrine from outside themselves, but seeking for what's inside themselves to be free from the dumb of the free. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So every day you make a choice how to respond to the world around, and that is about being free. So Proverbs 3:6, in all righteousness's ways, acknowledge righteousness, and righteousness will make straight righteousness's paths, your paths. You are righteous. You're blessed, highly favored, wonderfully made, and you are righteousness. So that is our word today. We have the verse today coming from James 3:13. And it's a question James has here. Who is wise and standing firm in love among you all? This is a good question. I started off this with talking about falling in love. Don't fall for someone. Don't fall in love, but stand in love for the person. Stand up for the person in love. And when you fall in love, when you fall like that in love, using that word, you're going to fall prey to disagreements. You're going to fall prey to idol worship. You're going to fall prey to jealousy. You're going to fall prey to envy. So don't fall in love. Stand in love with the person. And when you stand in love, you're standing in love for that person and for yourself, really, as a couple. So the advice I give, relationship advice, because I have been through relationships, so I have some experience in what works and what didn't work. When you stand in love for the person, both of you standing in that love have that respect for each other. And that respect for each other gives this respect for each other's selves. And when you look at the feelings of standing firm, that is where wise mind comes. So James is like, who is wise and standing firm in love and righteousness among you? Ask yourself that question. Who is wise and standing firm in righteousness among you? And the answer comes, let them show it by their works, by their good life, through their works done in the humility that comes from being wise. Come from being wise. So James asked the question, who is wise and standing firm in righteousness among you? Anyone that shows their righteousness, they're standing firm in righteousness among you through that one's goodness in their life, the goodness, their good life, the goodness of their life, through their works now. And their works are done in humility. And that humility comes from the wise mind. And where does that wise mind come from? Standing firm in righteousness. Remember, when you don't stand for righteousness, you're going to fall for wrongness. You got to stand up for righteousness. You got to stand up for people who are righteous. Don't hurt a person who is righteous and kind to you and long suffering with you and forgiving of you. This is what happened to my dad. My dad hurt my mom so much, and God rest his soul, in terms of her love for him and his betrayal of that love. And he came to terms with it. He came to terms with it, and my mom forgave him. And I'm glad that he came to terms with it before he left this earth, so that now he is free. My mom is free from that pain and that hurt and that sorrow. So let your works be done in the humility that comes from wise mind. And where does that come from? It comes from God. It comes from the Most High, and acknowledging that. So let's look at September 16th today. Max Lucado, listen to your own heart. Listen to your own heart. My God, I want to do what you want. Your teachings are in my heart. Psalm 40, verse 8. So Max Lucado picked this for today, and he speaks of this in terms of the majority is not always right. When the majority had ruled, the children of Israel never would have left Egypt. The children of Israel would have voted to stay in bondage. When the majority had ruled, David would have never fought Goliath. David's brothers would have voted for David to stay with the sheep. What's the point? You must listen to your own heart, not what other people want. You must listen to your own heart. So this is quite true. This is quite true. And we see this in the teaching in the Psalm today, 32, right? I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. So when we look at Psalm 40, verse 8, Psalm 32, verse 8 is speaking the same thing. And that instruction and that teaching is coming from righteousness. That is your God. And that God, my righteousness, I want to do what my God wants. My God teachings are in my heart. So the teachings of righteousness is in my heart, to do good, to be kind, to be loving, to be honest, to have humility, as the verse today talks about. Works done in humility that comes from a wise mind. We're getting up on the hour here. I did Max Lucado. We did the verse of the day. We did the psalm of the day. And we did the word of the day. Proverbs 3:6 supports that word. And today, the 16th, we're in Micah. Good leaders take more than their share of blame and less than their share of credit. Yep. I usually blame myself for things. It's my fault. I did this, I didn't do that, and I apologize. And that's what the book of Micah, chapter 3, chapter 2, is talks about false prophets. And I don't prophesize. I am not a prophetess. I don't talk about what's going to happen. All I know is that righteousness is going to cover the earth as the water cover the sea. And that is going to be. And that's the best road to go on, is the righteous road. And that is our salvation. So good leaders take more than their share of blame and less than their share of credit. Okay, and then the false prophets in chapter 2 of Micah, deliverance is promised. And that's what we talk about here in terms of deliverance. You will be surrounded with shouts of deliverance. And according to Micah chapter 2, deliverance is promised. I will surely gather all of you. I will surely bring together the remnant of you. I will bring them together as sheep in a pen, as a flock in its pasture, the place with throng with people. The one who breaks open the way will go up before them. They will break through the gate and go out. Their king will pass through before them, the Lord at their head. So we have this deliverance that's promised. So it's going to be okay. I know I weep. I weep for loss. I weep for the end of something. But there's a beginning coming around the corner. And I have to know that. And I have to have faith to know that it's going to be okay. Micah talks about leaders and prophets being rebuked, the mountain of the Lord's plan, and a promised ruler from Bethlehem. And that promised ruler from Bethlehem is being spoken of as the Christ. So we see all these things are happening in the scriptures right before we get ready to talk about the one Christ. So we see that there's a plan that the Lord has, that righteousness has. In that day, declares the Lord, I will gather the lame, I will assemble the exiles and those I have brought to grief. I will make the lame my remnant, those driven away a strong nation. So when you're rejected or somebody rejects you, don't feel, yep, you're going to feel hurt. You're a human. You're going to feel rejected. But know that there's a plan for those who are being rejected. The Lord will rule over them in Mount Zion from that day and forever. As for you, watchtower of the flock, stronghold of daughter Zion, the former dominion will be restored to you, and kingship will come to daughter Jerusalem. Why do you now cry aloud? Have you no king? Has your ruler perished, that pain seizes you like that of a woman in labor? Writhe in agony, daughter Zion, like a woman in labor. For now you must leave to camp in the open field. You will go to Babylon. There you will be rescued. There the Lord will redeem you out of the hand of your enemies. But now many nations are gathered against you. They say, let her be defiled. Let our eyes gloat over Zion. But they do not know the thoughts of the Lord, and they do not stand firm in the Lord's plan that the Lord has gathered from has gathered them like sheaves to the threshing floor. Rise and thresh, daughter Zion, for I will give you horns of iron. I will give you hooves of bronze, and you will break to pieces many nations. You will devote their ill-gotten gains to the Lord, their wealth to the Lord of all the earth. So what does this mean? This is talking about the black woman, and that's why the black woman is being targeted with false doctrines of beauty, right? That they're not beautiful. They have to straighten their hair. They have to, look, they have to have this kind of hair to be good. No, no. When your hair stands up and it defies gravity, this is who you are. You are powerfully and wonderfully made in that you have that from creation. Okay? I didn't make it up. It's from creation. So in the book of Micah, chapter 5, there is a promised ruler from Bethlehem that is being spoken of. So tomorrow we go into Micah chapter 5 and 6 and 7. And then we're going into Nahum. So each day we look at the scripture, and it's beautiful because it gives you grounding in the way you live, how you work, and how you deal with people in your life. So we look at today, September 16, Judah's Day of Triumph. So like princes, like people, Micah knows that the nation's morals can be no stronger than the nation's leaders. Remember, righteousness is going to exalt a nation, but prince and priest alike pervert justice. This is what's happening today. Oppress the helpless and minister for bribes. For their greed and injustice, Micah declares their judgment will be dark and disgraceful. Now, the difference in the final days, righteousness will be a way of life, and the afflicted will be the objects of God's special attention. Messiah will emerge from the obscurity of Bethlehem to be ruler over I, and executor of vengeance upon the rebellious. So we see that there's a rebuking false prophets, false peace, this false doctrine I talked about. And then we see restoring true religion, the true righteousness that is love and kindness, and this place of tranquility and this place of harmonic pattern. There's a ruling Jacob's remnant, and there's a prince of love, prince of kindness, prince of long suffering, prince of righteousness that chapter 5 talks about. So I love this. We're going to get into Micah and look at that more detailed, because that can help us kind of navigate our world that we're living in today, and how do we explain what's going on out here in the world and how it affects ourselves and our families. So thank you so much for joining Chant A Psalm A. We had the verse today coming from James chapter 3 verse 13. Who is wise and standing firm in love among you? And then we have Psalm 40 verse 8. My God, I want to do what you want. Your teachings are in my heart. Max Lucado talks about that for September 16th. We have the book of Micah being revealed to us. And then we have our psalm today. That is Psalm 32. Amazing psalm talking about blessed are the forgiven. And then we have our word today being free. Be free. I feel free when I listen to the guidance of righteousness within me that is in your heart. You want to listen to that, listen to your heart. We see that in Max Lucado's Psalm 40 verse 8. You want that teachings of righteousness in your heart. So thank you so much for joining Chant A Psalm A Day. Have a blessed day, everyone. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed day, everyone. Take care. Thanks for joining.